yeah, just give it a couple minutes to kind of load. But before we get started, we're gonna have a meeting today, and it's definitely in regards to some current events that are happening. There's a lot happening right now, and you definitely don't want to miss what's happening because they are moving towards something very rapidly here. And I think that we're going to kind of expose a lot of that today. And it's not as a lot of the media is portraying. But before we do, if we can, let's have a prayer. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for being with us here today. We thank you for your grace and your kindness and your love. We thank you for Jesus and giving him for us. We thank you for just being with us here today. We thank you for the angels that you send to guide us and speak words of life and point us in right directions. We thank you for just Jesus and the cross and everything that you've done, the grace that you have towards us. And we pray that we can have the same grace towards one another. And we pray, Father, also for just an understanding of these current events in relation to Bible prophecy today. I know that you're going to open our eyes in a big way today. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for Jesus. Amen. Okay, so today's title is called Peace and Safety, New World Order. You can kind of see what I have here, a picture of Donald Trump and Klaus Schwab. Many of you know who these people are. Klaus Schwab was the former head of the World Economic Forum. And when we talk about economic forum and economy, I think about Bible prophecy. And usually I'll think about certain verses in the Bible, such as no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name or the number of the beast. Revelation chapter 13, 16, 18. And so our prophecy is given here that there's going to be a very, very soon, some people who will be unable to buy and sell. And buying and selling is about to become a very serious issue. And I'm about to tell you that it is coming at a rapid pace. I'm not even going to tell you, I'm going to show you. I'm going to share with you some facts today and some things that are coming to pass, that they are moving in harmony. And sometimes it looks like they're on opposite sides. You know, it looks like they're against each other. It looks like there's a left and a right kind of going different directions, and there's a good guy and a bad guy, and one's religious, one's not. Well, I'd like to share with you today that they're both moving together in harmony, and sometimes somebody's playing the other side, but the reality is that they're all moving together for one goal, and that goal is world domination, world control, and it is the rich people, the bankers, that want to take control of the entire economy, and some people would call this a new world order. And we'll see how everybody's working together here shortly. But some of you might know Larry Fink, and most of you know Donald Trump. But this is how Larry Fink and Donald Trump saved Davos. Does anybody know what Davos is? Davos, Switzerland. It's where they held last week and this week the World Economic Forum. And that was, again, Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum. But who's saving Davos? Who's saving the World Economic Forum? Well, they're telling us it's Larry Fink and Donald Trump. Two names that I don't know if everybody's familiar with them. Most of us are familiar with Donald Trump, but Larry Fink I'm going to make you familiar with because you definitely want to know who he is. So let's just take a look here quickly. Larry Fink is the CEO of BlackRock. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of BlackRock before, but BlackRock is an organization basically that is also going to control the world. But Larry Fink is also the co-chairman now of the World Economic Forum. He's a temporary co-chairman of the World Economic Forum, and he owns BlackRock. And, or he's the CEO of BlackRock. Now, BlackRock's Larry Fink mulls over moving WEF out of Davos. They want to move it maybe somewhere else, but he's in charge. And they're in charge of BlackRock. Now, I want to share a little bit about BlackRock. BlackRock, according to the Financial Post, they have $20 trillion between them. BlackRock and Vanguard could own almost everything by 2028. So let's just say that Larry Fink and others, right? They could own everything by 2028. Let's just say they owned everything. How much would you own? If they own everything, how much will you own? You will own nothing, right? You will own nothing. Has anybody ever heard that? You will own nothing and be happy? Anybody ever heard that saying before? That's Klaus Schwab, right? The World Economic Forum. Yeah. So basically, this is coming. How fast is this coming? Well, they're saying that they'll own almost everything by 2028. So you will soon own nothing. Then it's very soon. It's on the brink. We're on the brink of it. Okay, guys? That's how close this is. So when you own nothing, they're going to have something that they're going to control what you buy and what you sell. So we should be spiritually prepared for what's about to come to pass here. Just think about it, right? No, don't make plans for 2028 and beyond. If you're still in the city, you might want to come out of the cities as best as possible and do everything in your power to follow God's instructions right now. Everything that you know in your power to follow God's instructions right now. God has instructions. I'm going to come to those instructions in the Bible today, and we're going to look at it. But remember, BlackRock is going to own everything with Vanguard by 2028. So how BlackRock CEO Larry Fink has turned into the darling of the MAGA movement. Now, BlackRock, Larry Fink. Larry Fink is the darling of the MAGA movement. Well, he and now President remain close, an important plus in their Panama Canal dealings. Recall it was Trump during his first term meeting with bankers at the White House who spotted Fink and said, Larry did a great job for me. He managed a lot of my money. I have to tell you, he got me great returns. So Trump is in business with Larry Fink. And Larry Fink is the CEO of BlackRock. And BlackRock and Vanguard are going to own everything, and you will own nothing. So who's Trump in collusion with? Who is he working with? Who is he working for? He's working for the bankers. He's working with the bankers. He's making money off the bankers. So when Trump is the president of the United States, he can work together to make his investments work. And I'll show you how this works here a little bit more. If you were depending on Trump to save the economy, to make things better by doing all this stuff of shutting down, trade and everything like that, that's not going to happen. By 2028, you might not have any money. You might not own nothing. We're coming to that. Now, BlackRock CEO Fink says Trump listens to business leaders. So where's Trump getting his directions from? Where's Trump getting his instruction from? And he's a Democrat as well. Larry Fink says meetings with president have been constructive. So the two can work together. And that's why you saw the picture of Klaus Schwab with Donald Trump at the beginning of the meeting, because they can work together. Now, just consider this all, right? What does Larry Fink tell us here? What's Larry Fink working towards? Let's listen carefully here.
Not spending enough time talking about how quickly we're going to tokenize every financial asset and the opportunity we're going to have a digital wallet.
What did he say? And he continues on, if you actually listen to this, where he says, how quickly this is coming. We're not talking about how quickly this is coming, this digital wallet. How quickly is it coming? Well, it's coming very rapidly. You see, we know from Bible prophecy that the final events will be rapid ones, and it's coming. It's on the brink, and that's why I'm talking about this today, because I really think that we are so close, so close. Some people have asked me, is it going to be, how fast do you think this digital wallet's going to be? I don't know. They say, if BlackRock owns everything by 2028, then probably, we're going to get a little token of some sort, and we're going to be able to buy or sell with this token or this digital wallet. And they want everybody on board. I'm going to talk about this at the end of this presentation. I'm going to come back to this. We're going to do a round here, and we're going to see how certain things connect today. You don't want to miss this presentation. This is definitely important and definitely something you want to share with friends, with family. You want to let them know what's coming. Now, CNBC tells us here, and all the news networks are telling us about this next, this person, Rick Ryder, and he's rising for Fed chairman. That means he's going to control the printed money. And basically, who is Rick Ryder? Well, he's BlackRock's executive, and he actually works for BlackRock, which is they will own everything, you will own nothing. So the people who print the money will own everything, and you will own nothing. And how is Rick Ryder coming into power? How is he getting into power? Well, he's the chief investment officer of BlackRock. So all the investments that BlackRock makes, he's in charge of. So would you want somebody in charge of the investments, also in charge of the Federal Reserve and printing the money and everything like that? And guess who's going to put him in? Guess who wants Rick Ryder in? Donald Trump. Donald Trump is moving to get Rick Ryder elected. Now, it's not just Donald Trump with Rick Ryder and the World Economic Forum and BlackRock and all connected together. But of course, it's the Pope. Do they work together with the Pope? The Pope's prescription for resetting the global economy in response to COVID-19. Some of you heard of the Great Reset by Klaus Schwab, right? Reset. What do they want to reset? They want to reset the economy. They want you to have a digital wallet. And according to the Bible, let's just look at the Bible here. I want to just go to my Bible. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, it says, he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. That's what we're looking at here. Now, who is this beast? Well, in the book of Revelation chapter 12, we see a dragon here, this great dragon having 7 heads, 10 horns. And what is a beast in Bible prophecy? According to Daniel 7:23, a beast is a kingdom. And this kingdom here, it said, stood before the woman, which is ready to be delivered to devour her child as soon as it was born. And this is none other than Jesus. When Jesus was born, Herod, through the Roman Empire, tried to kill Jesus. And that is Rome. And so this dragon here is a symbol of a kingdom, and that kingdom would be pagan Rome. And we're told in Revelation 13:2 that the dragon gives his seat, power, and authority to another beast, which is like a leopard, feet like a bear, and mouth like a lion. This diverse beast. And the dragon, which is pagan Rome, gave its power to this beast, which is papal Rome. And papal Rome had power to rule for many years. Sometimes some would say over 1,000 years. Some would say 1,260 years. Some would say more than that. But 1,260 years in 538 AD, it had total power over the state. And it was given by the emperors. And it had control that no man was allowed to speak against their religion. And they killed more than 50 to 150 million people during what is called the Dark Ages. And that would be the beast that ruled the earth. It said power was given him to continue 42 months, which in Bible prophecy is 1,260 years. And its power was taken 1,260 years after 538 by the General Berthier of France. And so now it lost its church and state power. But we're looking at something here. After that power's taken, in verse 11, it says there's another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb and spake as a dragon. And this is a symbol of another kingdom coming up right about the time that this other beast or the papacy was captured, 1798. And this second beast here that comes up out of the earth is none other than the United States, which came up at the time that the papacy lost its power. But this says he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. Now, who gave the first beast its power? It was the dragon. It was Rome. And not just that, but it was church and state power, total domination over the world. And to the point where it had power to rule for 42 months, the Bible says. And this beast here in America is going to exercise the same power. That power was taken away, which is church and state power. Now, this beast is going to cause people to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed, which is the papacy. And this beast will deceive them that dwell on earth by means of miracles, which it has power to do in the sight of the beast. And it says they will worship the first beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or foreheads. Now, what is the mark? Well, the mark is called the mark of the beast. And we'll just take a look at that quickly. But I want you to remember that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. So we've got a list of powers here that come down through history. And I could go over this in detail and really explain all this, but I only have about an hour. I want to get out a certain point in this hour time. But if anybody wants Bible studies on it, just ask. We've got lots of stuff on this, okay? And make this very clear. I'd like to go to the book of Daniel, which is the sister book of Revelation. In the book of Daniel, chapter 11, it tells us that this power shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. Now, symbolically, there's some kingdoms mentioned in here, and he has power over all the treasures of gold and silver. Now, I believe that this is a king that comes out of the north, and he comes like a whirlwind with chariots, horsemen, and many ships. And the Bible lists who this power is. And I'm going to come to this. We're going to look at this, and it's all mentioned by Jesus. Jesus told us to know and understand this, because when we see this king of the north coming, what does he say? Well, Jeremiah chapter 6 tells us, when you, children of Benjamin, see this king appearing out of the north with great destruction, flee out of Judea. And chapter 4 says in verse 13, he shall come up like clouds, his chariots like a whirlwind, his horses swifter than eagles, come with chariots, horsemen, and ships. And in Matthew 24, Jesus says to know and understand this from the book of Daniel when you see this, because you're to flee out of Judea when you see this king of the north coming. And we should know the king of the north back in that day was Babylon. And in this day, in the book of Revelation, we see something very similar. Upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And it's going to have power over the gold and over the silver and over all the money on the earth. In Revelation 18, it says it has power over the cinnamon, the ointments, the frankincense, the wine, the oil, the gold, the silver, right? Who is this? Babylon, okay? And it says the merchants of these things were made rich by her. By who? Who is this woman that we're looking at here? This woman in Revelation 17 is none other than the papal church, which gets its power from the kings of the earth, church and state. And you'll see that in 1 hour, so great riches will come to nothing. And all the ships and all the company of ships and sailors that trade by sea stood afar off. And they cried when they see the smoke of her burning. So what's about to happen is that the economy will soon crash. Let's go to the book of Daniel again. I just want you to make sure that you notice the ships here in the book of Daniel, chapter 11, verse 40. It says, talking about this power, at the time of the end, the king of the south would push at him, and the king of the north would come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots, with horsemen, with many ships. And we need to understand the ships have to do with economy. They have to do with money. And he shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver, the ships of Babylon. And that's talking about the economic system that's about to come to an end right now. So let's come back here and just keep this in mind. Who's going to have power over the gold and the silver? Okay. In the book of Revelation, we're told that there is a beast and a mark of the beast. And it says, here's the Pope's prescription for resetting the global economy in response to COVID-19. Pope is going to have power over the gold and silver. You see, David Rockefeller, a rich banker, and that's what we're talking about. The bankers will have control of the money. But the bankers work for somebody. They work for the Vatican. And they're going to use the Vatican to forward their agenda. But they wanted the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order. You see, coming back here, was COVID a great crisis for resetting the global economy? That was a good crisis. They almost used that to try to reset the global economy. They definitely moved it in the direction that they want to. And now we're at the point where, all of our goods and services and everything is the prices of everything is going through the roof, where people can't afford houses anymore. People can't afford to own things anymore. And by 2028, you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's what they tell us, right? The World Economic Forum, working together with the papacy, working together with Donald Trump and company, all together with Larry Fink and Rick Ryder and all the others, right? That they're going to control everything. but they need the right major crisis. The right major crisis. Well, we're working towards another major crisis this week. This is at the World Economic Forum, and they're all gathered in Davos right now. Donald Trump and Klaus Schwab and company, right? They're all the bankers and everything, Larry Fink. But at this World Economic Forum, there's an agenda contributor, Mariana Mazzucato, and she says our attempt to put the things in the arms of the entire planet failed. And then they said climate change is too abstract for people to understand, but the coming water crisis is something that everybody will get on board with. So we need, what do we need again? What did he say? Water crisis here? All the world needs is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order. So what are they moving towards? This next one, they're saying everybody's going to jump on board with the coming water crisis. And this is all over the news right now, but some of you might be familiar with this Illuminati game where they have all these different crises and stuff like that. It's almost like they're playing a game and they're saying, look, this is the next one. This is the next one. Let's try this one. Right? So yeah, they'll start to do things. They'll start to poison the water. They'll start to do things they'll poison the rain or whatever, so that you're dependent on them, right? And who is Mariana Mazzucato? Well, Mariana Mazzucato, Pope Francis is an amazingly productive author. He released a new encyclical. He published a new book, Let Us Dream, The Path to a Better Future. Does anybody know what his encyclical is entitled? Pope's encyclical. It would be called Laudato Si. And what's that have to do with? It has to do with the environment. It also has to do with other things. I'll come to that in a second, such as, keeping Sunday. But we learned from UCL that the Pope commends in the book Mariana Mazzucato's work in that book. So Mariana Mazzucato is one of the agenda contributors of the World Economic Forum. So do you think that maybe, just maybe, they're all working together? Trump, the Pope, Klaus Schwab, and everything, and they're just moving into an agenda. And sometimes it looks like they're against each other, making war with each other, but the reality is that they're all in it together. It's kind of like one big club and you're not in it, right? And they got to play sides. So they take one side and they take the other, and then they get you to take sides as if you're actually joining some kind of cause and saving the world, whether it's through Donald Trump or whether it's through, Obama or whoever, right? Or Joe Biden or George Bush or Bill Clinton or Al Gore or Ronald Reagan or Dan Quayle, Hillary Clinton, whoever, right? Take your choice, right? Who do you want to get behind? And they're all on the same side. They're all on the same side. Okay? That's what we see here. They are all on the same side. So Mariana Mazzucato and the World Economic Forum is on the same side as the Pope. The Pope is on the same side as Larry Fink with the World Economic Forum. Larry Fink is on the same side as MAGA. And MAGA is on the same side as Larry Fink. They work together, So what we have here is they're talking about, and this is all over the news here, era of global water bankruptcy is here. UN report says, United Nations report. The world has entered a new era of water bankruptcy. The Guardian, the Washington Post, Newsweek, Bloomberg, Conversation. Guess who owns all of these media outlets? Guess who owns all the media outlets? I bet you will never guess. Yep, BlackRock. Larry Fink, World Economic Forum. So when you're watching the news now, are you being educated by good journalism or more so an agenda? We dictate the future. What did Klaus Schwab say? We build the future. Build back better, right? We build the future. We're telling people what to think. So you're going to think what we tell you to think. And so in regard to that, doesn't that sound like somebody in ancient Babylon? Does anybody remember somebody who said, look at this great kingdom which I have built? Daniel chapter 4, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. Babylon, we build back better. We're the ones building this, right? God's coming soon. He's going to set things in order. He's going to set these people in order too. But they are trying to make events happen. So they're controlling the media to try to get you brainwashed into thinking that this is how things are going, that we're running out of water. Meanwhile, they're letting the water go, in California. When they get enough water, they just let it go and let it run out in the ocean so that it looks like you're running out of water. And, it's all planned. So Pope Francis tells us that this is all part of the climate agenda, the climate crisis, and he invites Christians to a month of ecological conversion. So this is not only just people getting on board. This is a religion. It's a religion. Laudato Si. It's the world religion. And they not only that, they have 10 commandments. The 10 plus 1 climate commandments, right? They have their own commandments. This is the world that we're living in, right? This is what we're looking at. And they planned this many years ago. This is a 1990 map of the United States. And basically, they plan to keep people away from the water. You'll notice all the rivers. Can you see the rivers running through here? What color are they? The rivers here, as you're looking through them. What color do they look like here? Red. You notice how they're all red, guys? Well, when you look at the red zones down at the bottom here, there's red zones, yellow zones, and different normal use zones, right? But red zones are going to be core reserves and corridors, little to no human use. That means that you will not be allowed to go to the river to take your kids swimming. You will not be allowed to go to the lakes. You will not be allowed out of the cities. And they're building 15-minute cities. And they're going to have lockdowns to control things because the water is the next crisis. Isn't that interesting? And this was all done in 1990. I think maybe they planned it a few years in advance, right? They moved. They got their cards, their card game, right? I know God can thwart their plans. God can change things and everything like that. And they can plan all they want. God can step in. But I think that there's going to be a certain amount. I want you to notice something about this map as well. This is actually, if you read at the top, simulated reserve and corridor system to protect biodiversity as required by the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. So the plan is to have all of this protected by military, off limits. And who do you think the military is going to be here? Well, it's the United Nations military, right? It's a foreign military that's going to control the United States. And the only way that they're going to do this is to bankrupt us. They're going to bankrupt everybody. And then who's doing that? BlackRock and Vanguard, the World Economic Forum. It's going to be done. It's a done deal. They've planned it. They have it all. It's all done. Let's just listen to a little bit to what they're talking about with regards to the water bankruptcy. Okay. This is all at Davos, the World Economic Forum, United Nations.
Here to tell you that for much of the world, normal is gone. This is not to kill hope, but to encourage action and an honest admission to failure today to protect and enable tomorrow. Today, the United Nations University Institute for Water, Environment and Health is releasing our flagship report, Global Water Bankruptcy: Living Beyond Our Hydrological Means in the Post-Crisis Era. This report, published on the occasion of our 30th anniversary, declares that the world has entered the era of global water bankruptcy, calling for a fundamental shift in how the global community understands our most vital resource, water.
Control. This is all about control. Now keep this in mind. I want you to listen carefully here. Just notice that the climate change thing, they're moving in a direction here.
Most of our climate change impacts are felt through water. So the question for all of us is how do we try to manage water? And the key topic that we will all be working on today is, are there levers that we can use to unlock and unleash the power of water to perhaps achieve the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals?
United Nations, some of you know the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals called the SDGs. Now, who are they working with here? This is all happening in Davos, at Switzerland, at the World Economic Forum with Klaus Schwab and everybody there, Donald Trump, all of them are working together. Some of them have their own agendas. I'm going to share with you Trump's agenda here in a second, but catch what's happening here is that they're moving towards the United Nations SDGs. I'm going to show you this in Bible prophecy today. We're going to see this very clear, all in Bible prophecy, but we got a couple things that we want to just get through here first.
Overall, we today are in a completely new situation with regards to threats of water to human well-being and development. And now we need to put the economics of water, not only in terms of monetary values, but also in terms of governance, in terms of recognizing water as a commons that we now need to manage as a broad systems approach. We're looking at the value of water and considering different novel economic policy measures, of which one may be, for example, putting some form of price on water in order to guide and give incentives, but not as a price to punish those who are poor, but rather to reward those that are stewards of fresh water for the common good.
For the common good. For the common good of all. And interesting how that works. I'll come back to that. That's a Roman saying, the common good of all. And I think that the common good has to do with something with regards to Sundays. I'll come back to that. I'll share with you a little bit on that. But just listen to this one here.
On alternate days and preferably between 7 at night and 7 in the morning. Also, no watering is allowed on Sunday.
Yeah, Sundays.
Also,
we don't want watering on Sundays. And Pope Francis, Laudato Si, you read this here. Laudato Si, legislation can't force an unwilling public to make the dramatic adjustments needed to save the planet. Instead, we should better heed the Pope's call for fundamental change of life, like that the saint he is named after. Well, it says down here we must also celebrate rest, especially from buying and selling, by returning to a focus on keeping the Sabbath. Why do I bring up buying and selling with relation to the Sabbath? The Sabbath and buying and selling, does that have anything to do with the future of buying and selling? Catholic social teaching is fundamental to tackling world issues, as Pope Francis says. It definitely is. I'll share with you, J.D. Vance, who could become the next president, says my views on public policy, what the optimal state should look like, are pretty aligned with Catholic social teaching. And I'd say that Donald Trump's are as well. You know, but this is the vice president of the United States. And Catholic social teaching, again, listen carefully, is fundamental to tackling world issues. So how are they going to tackle world issues? With Catholic social teaching. And what is Catholic social teaching? Well, it involves rest from work. Catholic social teaching, part 68, which is Sundays, rest, okay? And Sunday has to do with the mark of the beast. Listen carefully. The Bible tells us that there's going to be a mark where no man can buy or sell. And the Catholic Church tells us that they claim that the change Saturday Sabbath to Sunday was their act, and the act is a mark of ecclesiastical authority in religious things. And that's from the Catholic Church themselves. They also tell us Sunday is our mark of authority. The Catholic Church is above the Bible, and this transference of Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. Mark of authority. Not just say that God authored or he's the authority of the world. He really is. He's the lawmaker. And he made a law. He authored this fourth commandment, which says the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. And he truly is the authority. And that is his mark of authority. You can read it in the Bible. You can see the word. I'll just show you briefly. In the book of Revelation, it talks about people that are going to receive a seal in their foreheads. Now, in Revelation 13, many people are going to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? So the word mark and seal, I would say, are interchanged. You can see this in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 9. Let's just go to Ezekiel 9. This is just brief. I'm just showing you briefly and quickly that the mark of God is his seventh-day Sabbath. And it says, go through and set a mark on the foreheads of the men that sign cry for the abominations that are done in the midst of Jerusalem, right? But this is a mark in the forehead, which is a seal. It's the same thing that's done to God's people. And you can see the words seal and mark are interchanged. Now also go to the book of Romans chapter 4. Romans 4. And talking about the word mark and seal, well, he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of righteousness by faith. You can see also the words sign and seal are interchanged. So sign, seal, mark, all interchangeable words. And what does God say about the Sabbath? In the book of Exodus, chapter 31, verse 17, he says, "Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between the children of Israel, between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested." So this is a sign, and the word there for sign can be interchanged in the Bible with the word seal and with the word mark. This is God's mark of authority. And Sunday is the papacy's mark of authority. You understand? And some people will say, well, that's with Israel. Okay. Let me ask you a question. Are you guys new covenant believers, right? You understand the new covenant is, who's the new covenant with? I will make a new covenant in those days with the house of the Gentiles. Did God make the covenant with the Gentiles? The new covenant? No, it's the house of Israel. The new covenant is with Israel and Judah. You are Israel. When you become part of the new covenant, you go to the book of Ephesians chapter 2, it tells you in verse 11 that you were in time past Gentiles in the flesh. You're not Gentiles when you become born again Christians. You were called uncircumcision by that which is circumcision made with hands. You're not uncircumcised anymore. You're circumcised in the heart. You're the true Israel now, right? But at that time, when you were Gentiles, you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenant of promise. The covenant's not with the Gentiles. Same with the Sabbath. You know, so if you say, oh, well, that Sabbath is for the Jews, that Sabbath for Israel, well, you're also saying, oh, yeah, that new covenant, that's for Israel. That's for the Jews. Just remember that, because you are saying that you're still a Gentile in the flesh, and you are still aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and you're still without Christ if you're still a Gentile. If you're still a Gentile. Remember that in time past, it means you're no longer, this is New Testament here, okay? You're no longer Gentiles. So God has a mark with the true Israel of God, and that's what we are. We are the true Israel, and his mark of authority, his sign, his seal is the Sabbath. And what does the papacy say? We're the author now, and we've changed Saturday Sabbath to Sunday. That's our mark of authority. That's our sign. That's our seal. Okay? So just clear on that. That's Bible prophecy right there. We just showed from the Bible. And what are we told here? We are told in the Bible in Revelation 13 that the beast is the papacy, and that this beast, no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. You definitely want to understand this from the Bible. And I could go into this more deeply, but again, like I say, we've got about an hour, a little bit, an hour and a half, hopefully we might go through, but this is all important today, and we want to get as much in here as we can in this meeting, okay? So we got the Bible, and we got things that we're trying to clear up as rapidly as possible. I don't want anybody to be deceived in regards to the mark of the beast, in regards to who the beast is, so we did, but we can go in details on those. And if somebody wants to do studies on those, we will. But Trump unveils Board of Peace in Davos, and they all want in. Where did he unveil the Board of Peace? In Davos. Davos, Switzerland. So who's he trying to get to join his Board of Peace? His Board of Peace. Who's he trying to get to join it? All the World Economic Forum bankers and all the people who control the world, Larry Fink, Klaus Schwab, everybody except for Canada. Sorry, we're joining with China apparently. But anyway, we'll come back to that one shortly because we got some things to say about China here today. But in regards to this Board of Peace, this is what was brought forth at this World Economic Forum. And I want you guys just to remember the Bible here, because when we talk about the papacy, right, in the book of Daniel, he's spoken about here, and I'm not going to give a whole study on Daniel chapter 8 today, but I will give you some brief stuff that hopefully most of you know. If you don't, then I can give you some Bible studies on it. But in Daniel chapter 8:25, talking about the papacy, it says, through his policy also, he would cause craft to prosper in his hand. He shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. So what does he do when he comes peaceably in? He's going to destroy men, right? I'm going to share with you a little bit because I think that the papacy might be behind this council of peace that they're moving towards. So the book of Daniel 11, you'll see something similar again about Rome. And it talks about this raiser of taxes, which would be Caesar's and stuff like that. We looked through this before, but verse 22 or 21 says, talking about Rome, he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. It's kind of, has anybody ever heard Donald Trump speak before? You're the best. Yeah, he's the best. He's the greatest. Has anybody heard Donald Trump speak before? Flattery? I think that's like, it's a part of his character, right? Peaceably. Comes in peaceably. Let's just stop here. Think about this. The board of peace, right? Now that's how the papacy does things, right? That's how Rome does things. But what are we now? Peaceably. Kind of similar, isn't it? Like Rome? And then what did Rome do after they came in peaceably? Were they peaceful? Were they peaceful towards those who disagreed with them? Or did they kill half of them, right? But keep on going here. It says, he shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest places of the province. Get control of all of the world through peace, right? But I want you just to notice something in the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3 here. It says, when they shall say peace and safety, well, it's not going to be good because sudden destruction is coming. Okay? So when you see this board of peace coming to pass, I mean, how obvious is it for Bible students? At least those, who are really truly studying right now, right? What do we see? What do we understand is about to come to pass, right? They're telling us by 2028 that BlackRock and Vanguard is going to own everything and you will own nothing. They will control the economy. You will have a digital wallet. That's how soon they're telling us this is coming. So they're making a board of peace, but what's coming out of this? Like, there's not going to be peace. There's going to be maybe a board of peace, but there's not going to be peace. There's going to be a lot of war. And speaking of war, I'll come to this in a second. But this is the board of peace here. A lot of people joining, Donald Trump signing everybody up to this great board of peace, everybody clapping. This is an official international organization. Let's just play this.
Congratulations, President Trump. The charter is now in full force and the Board of Peace is now an official international organization.
International.
We will now continue the signing ceremonies, beginning with the President of Argentina and the Prime Minister of Armenia.
Okay, so they're going to begin with the President of Argentina to discuss this. Now, I just want to just briefly bring this up. This is Milei. Some of you know him, the new president of Argentina. Some of you might remember him kissing the Pope's ring after he called the Pope a communist and everything like that. But he's part of Donald Trump's Board of Peace. Let's just listen carefully.
Time now, and for some strange reason, the West began to turn its back on the ideas of liberty. That is why in this same place in 2024, I stated that the West was in danger as a result of having embraced increasing doses of socialism in its most hypocritical form, which is wokeism. In turn, in 2025, I explained the mental parasites sown by the left in humanity. However, 2026 is the year in which I bring you good news. The world has begun to awaken. The best proof of this is what is happening in the Americas with the rebirth of the ideas of liberty. Therefore, the Americas will be the beacon of light that will once again illuminate the entire West, thereby repaying the civilizational debt with expressions of gratitude towards the foundations in Greek philosophy, Roman law, and Judeo-Christian values.
What do you say? They're going to bring in Greek philosophy, Roman law, Judeo-Christian values, all of it together. We're working towards this. And this is what we're moving towards in the Americas. So it's kind of like a new Rome. The fall of the Republic of Rome came in, and there was, of course, the papacy came in peaceably, by peace. And very similar, what we're seeing is an image to the first beast. That's what it says in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. Let's just go to it and understand carefully. It says that this power comes up out of the earth. He had two horns like a lamb. That sounds kind of peaceable. But then he speaks as a dragon. And what does the dragon do? The dragon likes to make war, doesn't he? The dragon makes war with the remnant of her seed who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Revelation 12:17. The dragon makes war. And that's what we're going to see. This America comes up peaceably like a lamb. The fruit of the Spirit is peace, right? And that's what the Spirit is. But the dragon is warlike. And it's going to be warlike. It's going to speak warlike. I'm going to share with you what that means here. Because that's Rome, okay? Because remember, the dragon gave his power, seat, and authority to the first beast. Power. And in Revelation 13, it says, he exercises all the power of the first beast before him and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. So what power? The power that the dragon gave him. So he will speak like a dragon, and he's going to force people to worship the first beast, which is the papacy. And he doeth great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. I do believe this is a counterfeit of the Holy Spirit. He deceives them by means of those miracles. Miracles is a gift of the Spirit. Now, coming down here, it says when they see these things that they should make an image to the first beast. So something similar. So the first beast, how did it get to its power? Came in peaceably, by flatteries, these are ways in which it came in, right? So what is Donald Trump and what is America going to come in and get their power by? Oh, lamb-like, beautiful, peace, all that other stuff, doves, lambs, everything like that. But then they say, let's make an image of the first beast. And then he had power to give life to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Does that sound like peace at this point? And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hands or in their foreheads. So, speaking of peace, yeah, Roman law, image to the beast, right? Same thing. And let's just go back to our Department of War here. Department of War. And I just want to share about Roman law just for a second here. This is Pete Hegseth of the Department of War now in America. We renamed it from the Department of Defense to the Department of War, okay?
This is a Fox News alert right now. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is addressing top military leaders in Quantico. Let's listen in.
This crowd knows that. The origin dates to the 4th century Rome and has been repeated ever since, including by our first commander-in-chief, George Washington, the first leader of the War Department. It captures a simple yet profound truth. To ensure peace, we must prepare for war. From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting, preparing for war and preparing to win, unrelenting and uncompromising in that pursuit. Not because we want war, no one here wants war, but it's because we love peace. We love peace for our fellow citizens. They deserve peace, and they rightfully expect us to deliver it.
Okay, so how are we going to get peace? By war. Listen carefully. Again,
leaders in Quantico. Let's
listen carefully.
Knows that. The origin dates to the 4th century Rome and has been repeated.
The origin dates to the 4th century of Rome. If you're familiar with Rome and what happened in the 4th century, you might be familiar with Constantine. And Constantine looked into the sun, and there was an actual vision given to him. And it said there was a cross in the sun, and he said, by this sign, conquer. And that was sun worship. And you can go back to the 4th century. This is from the Great Controversy, page 53. And it says, in the early part of the 4th century, the Emperor Constantine issued a decree making Sunday a public festival throughout the Roman Empire. Why do we keep coming back to Sunday, Constantine, all this other stuff? 4th century Rome. Why do they keep coming back to this and talking about war? Because when you understand, let's just go back to the Bible here. Revelation 12, we know this is talking about Rome, this dragon here that tried to devour Jesus through Herod as soon as he was born. And this beast has, it says, 7 heads and 10 horns, 7 crowns upon his heads. This is talking about the power that it has, right? And we see this in Revelation 13, the same thing. This other beast rise up out of the sea, 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns. That's the papacy, total power, total monarchy. But in this power here, with the 7 crowns, Rome ruled the world. And it took over 3 more until it had 10 crowns, right? That's the papacy during the Dark Ages from 538 to 1798. But it tried to devour Jesus. Now, what does this dragon do? Let's just look at this dragon here. It says in verse 9, the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. What does the dragon do? Well, there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. So where does this war really come from ultimately? The dragon fought and his angels. He prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Go to verse 17, the same thing. The dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. We're talking about war, okay? I want to get to this. I'm going to show you a little bit more here in the Bible. Revelation 16, again, you see this coming out of the mouth of the dragon again, unclean spirits. There's a flood coming out of the mouth of the dragon, and they are spirits of devils, working miracles. They go forth to the kings of the earth and to the whole world. What are they doing? They're going to gather them. You know, let's make a council of peace. Let's call this a council of peace. But let's use this council of peace. And what are we going to do? To gather them to make war on the great day of God Almighty. Make war. Who's making war? Out of the mouth of the dragon. He's making war with the remnant of her seed. Now in Revelation 17, we see the same power. He says, he carried me away in the spirit. In the wilderness, I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Same beast. It's scarlet. That means it's red. I know some people think it's a leopard beast. This is not the leopard beast. This is the dragon, the red beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. The dragon is the scarlet-colored beast, and the dragon, which is Satan, says to the woman, all these kingdoms will I give you if you'll bow down and worship me. Just as the dragon said to Jesus in the wilderness. Who came to Jesus in the wilderness? Matthew chapter 4. We know the story, right? Came to Jesus in the wilderness. He said, all these kingdoms will I give you if you'll bow down and worship me. Who do you think's coming to her in the wilderness here? It's the dragon. It's Satan. He's coming to her and he's saying, all these kingdoms, here, come on. I got the 10 horns. I got the kings of the earth. Who are the 10 horns? Verse 12. The 10 horns, what you saw, are 10 kings which have received no kingdom yet. That's the United Nations. That's the one that's yet to come. There's 5 are fallen, 1 is, and 1 is yet to come. 10 horns. That's the United Nations. And these have one mind, and they give their power and strength to the beast. And these shall, what are they going to do? Make war. But that's how they're going to get peace, right? We got to make war to get peace. This is dragon talk. This is the dragon speaking through these powers. This is 4th century Rome. Roman law, turning back to Rome, Sunday laws. It's all back. It's a history being repeated. It's the same principles, the same concept as ancient pagan imperial Rome used to control. And they're going to make war with the Lamb. And the Lamb shall overcome them. Now I want to come back to this because I think that this has to do with what Jesus spoke about in Daniel, where he said that there will be an abomination that maketh desolate. It says in verse 16, the 10 horns, what you saw in the beast, these shall hate the whore. They're not going to love her. They might fornicate with her, but they're not going to love her. Okay? They might make they call it make love, but maybe it's not love, it's hate. And they're going to make her naked. They're going to do some stuff with her in the bedroom. That's not good. They're going to make her desolate. And you know what Jesus told us to watch for? He's told us to watch for the abomination that makes desolate. You think it might be right here? I think it might be right here. We're going to come to our Bibles here. And I think it's important for us to get an understanding of what Jesus told us to watch for, because Jesus told us that it would be burnt with fire, just like Jerusalem was burnt with fire in 70 AD, right? After there was a sign, come out of her, my people, flee out of Judea. We need to understand this. God's people need to understand this, because Jesus said that prophecy is given for you to take heed. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24, he said, when you therefore shall see the abomination that maketh desolate, spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Here's wisdom. Let him that has understanding know the number, count the name. The book of Daniel, what does Daniel say? The wise shall understand, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked will understand the book of Daniel. And when we understand this, what are we to do? Flee Judea, flee out of Judea, flee out of Babylon, flee out of the midst of her, come out of her, my people, come out of the cities. They're about to do lockdowns. They're about to make 15-minute cities. Get out. It's going to be too late soon, right? God's given us a call, but we need to understand history in order to understand now. You have nothing to fear for the future. You have nothing to fear for the future, guys, except you forget the way that the Lord has led us in the past, okay? So the Lord led us through the wilderness, and we better understand how he led through the wilderness in time past. It says, thou shalt remember all the way the Lord led you these 40 years in the wilderness. And who's in the wilderness right now? There's a woman, and she's sitting on a scarlet-colored beast. And we were led through the wilderness in time past. You have nothing to fear except you forget. You shall remember. Because if you forget, Jesus was in the wilderness. And it says, remember how he was led in the wilderness to humble him. He was in the wilderness 40 days. And the dragon came to him in the wilderness. Didn't he? And he humbled you and suffered you. When the dragon came to him, and Jesus said, no, it is written, it is written. And he said, neither did their fathers know, that he might make thee know that man does not live by bread only, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Lord does man live. If we understand how the Lord led us in the past, we're not going to be deceived when we see this woman in the wilderness, getting on the beast, fornicating with the kings of the earth, them making her naked, and then the abomination that make it desolate. We're going to understand it all, and it's all going to make sense. So know therefore and understand what was spoken of by Daniel. We'll come back to that. Don't leave, because you definitely don't want to miss that. And I know that I've got a lot to say today, but it's important, guys. It's important to stick around. But who else was invited to this council of peace? Of course, the man of sin, right? The man of sin. Or sorry, they call him the Holy Father, but the Bible calls him the man of sin.
In his effort to build a peace council as part of the oversight for the Gaza ceasefire plan, Donald Trump has invited world leaders from every corner of the globe. The latest report is that the President of the United States has invited more than 60 countries to participate in the council. Among them is the Holy See. This news was announced by Cardinal Parolin during a recent event. We've also received the invitation to the Peace Council for Gaza. The Pope has received it, and we are seeing what to do. We are looking into it in depth. I believe it is an issue that requires some time to be considered and to give a response.
Yeah. Of course. And do you think he might join the team? Do you think he's already on board? Even though they're saying, oh, we have to consider it, we have to think about it. They're already on board. And of course, Donald Trump is the interim CEO or whatever, the interim leader of this council piece. And it's as long as he wants to be owner of it and world leader, he can be the world leader. And just something that some people need to understand. Trump floats a board of peace to replace UN, signals major global shift. I just listen carefully again, okay?
Do you want your board of peace to replace the UN?
Well, it might. I mean, the UN just hasn't been very helpful. I'm a big fan of the UN potential, but it has never lived up to its potential. The UN should have settled every one of the wars that I settled. I never went to them. I never even thought to go to them. They should be able to settle those wars. They don't. I believe you got to let the UN continue because the potential is so great.
Does it sound like he wants to get rid of the UN? Does that sound like he wants to replace the UN? when you want to let the UN continue, right? This is kind of fake news, Fox News. Oh yeah, to replace the UN? No, he's saying let it continue. We're all for them, right? We're working together with them. So don't, no, let's let it continue, right? He's not saying to replace it, right? But let's just remember, the UN has great potential. Great potential. Don't forget the potential. It's great. It's just wonderful, as Trump might say, right? It's great potential, right? And we're looking at this map. We understand this map. We looked at it earlier. We know, water, core reserves, little to no human use, water crisis, climate crisis, everything like that. Great potential. Lots still to do. And I'd like just to consider that dragon in Revelation 17. We're going to come back here to this book here because we've been looking at the wilderness and we don't have nothing to fear except we forget the way the Lord led us 40 years in the wilderness. But he carries us away in the spirit into the wilderness. We better get straight what happens in the wilderness because Jesus was in the wilderness 40 days and that old dragon came to him. And he said, all the kingdoms of this world I'll give you. You can have the United Nations, the 10 horns, right? You can have them. You can use them to further your agenda. So here you go. You want to ride? You want to take a seat? You want power? You want authority? I'll give you all the kingdoms of this world if you'll bow down and worship me. So I saw a woman, the papacy. She's sitting there looking and saying, you know what? I'll take over this world, this Council of Peace. I'll take over the United Nations. I'll take over the World Economic Forum. I'll sit upon the scarlet-colored beast. All the power is given to the papacy. Power, seat, authority given by the dragon. The dragon gives his power, seat, and authority. The scarlet beast gives the power, seat, and authority to the woman, to the papacy. And this beast is full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, when we're looking at this carefully, consider the old dragon, okay? The old dragon. Who does the papacy get its power of? What do we see on the symbol of the World Council or World Health Organization here? What do we see here? It's a serpent. Because that old dragon is not only an old dragon, but Revelation 12, verse 9 tells us the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. He's disguising himself. So now he comes in Revelation 17 and he's still scarlet, and that's how we discern it. It's not the leopard beast, guys. It's not the leopard beast. I know people say, oh, well, that's the first beast of Revelation, the leopard beast that looks like a leopard and has the feet of a bear. No, this is not it. This is the scarlet. This is the dragon. So when we look at this beast, the beast that you saw is scarlet. It's red. It's the dragon. It's the one that gives the seat, power, and authority to the woman, the papacy. And the woman is the papacy. That's the one pagan Rome gives the seat, power, and authority to papal Rome. Seat. I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. Now, it says that she fornicates with the kings of the earth, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. That's the 10 horns. Because verse 12 tells us the 10 horns, what you saw, are 10 kings. That's the United Nations. That's all of the nations together, gathered. And we don't want to get rid of the United Nations, according to Trump, right? That's not over with. Now we've got a World Peace Council as well. So they're all working together in cahoots, in harmony, right? Larry Fink, World Economic Forum, Donald Trump. They're like this, guys. We're going to put in charge somebody who owns BlackRock in charge of the Federal Reserve, right? We've seen all this already. So these have one mind. Don't think that they're on different teams. We got the Bible. The Bible tells us they're of the same mind. They're on the same team. They're all, China might look like it's against the United States, but China is a part of the UN and they're working together. Remember, the dragon, what's the symbol of China? What's China's symbol? The dragon, that old dragon, communism, socialism, the government of the dragon. It's exactly what is going to be used. Look at this. Okay, this is the papacy here. And it says, is China a model of the common good? In 2018, Archbishop Marcello Sanchez Sorondo, Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences, in an interview said, right now, those who are best implementing the social doctrine of the church are the Chinese. Social doctrine of the church, which is basically what we read about earlier with J.D. Vance. My way of running the state is in line with Catholic social teaching, social doctrine of the church. But the best ones that are doing that and implementing that are the Chinese. Who else wants to do it? J.D. Vance. Who else wants to do it? Donald Trump. Who else wants to do it? It's all working together. They have the social doctrine of the church. Okay, so keeping that in mind, what does Klaus Schwab say about the World Economic Forum with Larry Fink, who's close ties with MAGA and Donald Trump? Let's listen.
I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years. I think it's a role model for many countries.
Role model. This is the same words as the papacy is using. They're telling us those are the best at implementing the social doctrine of the church. So that's the role model. That's what they want to move towards. And of course, the United Nations peacekeeping is China. So when they go to implement that map that we saw earlier of the United States, we're going to see all the red zones that are going to be blocked off and militarized, protecting the water, right? Who's going to be in charge of protecting the water? The United Nations. But who has the army that they can use to enforce this? Who has that 1 million-man army that they can use to enforce the United Nations agenda? Who will be walking the streets of America? It will be Chinese military. Chinese military are going to be walking the streets of America. They're going to be controlling and militarizing and controlling the water to save the planet. And it's all under the United Nations, all under the World Economic Forum, and it all looks like it's nothing to do with China. You wouldn't even know it's China because they're really just the UN. You wouldn't even know. It's just going to look like the UN came in to help us, right? To save the planet. And most of us are going to go along with it because it's going to look like nothing bad, right? The Pope ponders universal basic income as the world economy withers. They're working together with the UN, with the World Economic Forum. They're all working together. Here's the Pope's prescription, resetting the global economy, World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum says China implements the social doctrine of the World Economic Forum. The papacy says China is implementing best the social doctrine of the World Economic Forum. And of course, Larry Fink is telling us, basically, he's in control now, that we're going to have digital wallets. And Larry Fink works together as MAGA's darling, together with MAGA, with Make America Great Again. They're all in it together. It's all there. And I know I'm crying loud. There's a call. Babylon is fallen. She's united with the kings of the earth. Church and state is united. Come out of her, my people. Come out of her, my people. And I'm going to close with something here that's important in the Bible. We need to get it from the book of Daniel. I'm not going to leave without making this clear. So just give me a second. But just a couple things. Some of you know Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Well, here he is signing a technology prosperity deal with Donald Trump. Okay.
Deal's no good. I'm blaming you, Scott.
Why are they signing a technology? I'm going to skip this a little bit. I want to move on. I want to just get you to know Keir Starmer here.
One of our viewers got in touch and wanted us to ask this question. Russ Brown wanted us to ask you if you really believe that those profiting from human trafficking will think, oh dear, I have to check your digital ID now. I can't carry on paying you £1.50 an hour to work in my sweatshop.
Absolutely convinced.
So what does Keir Starmer want to bring into the UK? Some of you might have known about the UK with the digital ID and all this other stuff, right? So basically, that would be what Donald Trump is signing here with Keir Starmer, is a technology prosperity deal. Now, who's prospering from technology in this situation here? Who's going to prosper from this technology of the digital wallet, the digital ID, and the digital, yes, tracking of everybody. Whose prosperity is it? Is it people who will prosper from it, or is it these big bankers that are going to prosper from it? BlackRock and all the other ones are taking over everything, okay?
Be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
Well, the government says digital ID will be compulsory for everyone in the UK.
Okay, I'm going to skip this. I've shared some of this before. I want to pass on, but I want you to get some points here. Now, here's another one from the UK, the former Prime Minister of the UK. Some of you know him as Tony Blair. Some of you have seen him before. Years ago, he was the Prime Minister of the UK. And here he is. Well, also, you know Larry Ellison. I'll tell you who Larry Ellison is and his connection to Trump here in a second. But Larry Ellison is the Oracle CEO. And Oracle, yeah, I've done some stuff on this before. I'm not going to go too much into this. I just want you to catch some connections with Donald Trump and company and what the deal is, what this technology prosperity deal is all about. Let's listen carefully here to Larry Ellison talking to former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, who's, of course, working with Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. And they're all working for technology prosperity, right? Let's listen.
Tell us a bit about what, because you're right at the forefront of this revolution, what it means for what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, digital ID, data centers, and so on.
How do you take advantage of these incredible AI models? And the first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data. And in the Middle East, in the UAE, for example, they're incredibly rich in data. They have a lot of population data. The NHS in the UK has an incredible amount of population data, but it's fragmented. It's not easily accessible by these AI models. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform. So we provide context. When we want to ask a question, we've provided that AI model with all the data they need to understand our country. So that's the big step. That's kind of the missing link. We need to unify all of the national data, put it into a database where it's easily consumable by the AI model, and then ask whatever question you like.
So you're really, through the use of this, you're revolutionizing the way government works, right? The services it provides, the way that it operates.
We're going to just skip that. We understand it's about control. It's about control. It's about monitoring you. Stargate AI project could help create cancer mRNA shots. Oracle CEO Larry Ellison says, so they want to protect. And here's Donald Trump saying the project will create more than 100,000 American jobs. And he asked for $500 billion to this company to donate to this company. So this is their project. They're working together.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most exciting things we're working on, using the tools that Sam and Masa are providing, is a cancer vaccine. It's very interesting. It turns out, I'll be quick, all of our cancers, cancer tumors, little fragments of those tumors float around in your blood. So you can do early cancer with a blood.
Okay, I can't play all this today. I want to get to something in the Bible here. I could show you a lot of this stuff. Some of you have seen some of the stuff. That surveillance is absolutely essential. They want to control everything you do. They want cameras everywhere. Basically, they want to track and trace everyone. And Donald Trump is telling Musk and Ellison to buy TikTok so they can control speech. They want to control your speech. You don't want to speak out against this Chinese system that's coming, right? So they're going to use this to control your speech. They might have to take some videos down on YouTube and on TikTok and on Twitter eventually. I know we're all praising Elon Musk as the free speech advocate. You'll find out soon enough that there are certain things that he doesn't advocate. And they record everything. I'm not going to play all this. We shut off it when you get to the bathroom. Digital concentration camps. This is the shut door, basically. And this is what it says here. I'll just see if this is clear.
I think it's very hard for people who've grown up and enjoyed Western liberty and human liberty to imagine literally that we're going into a system where literally our homes, our cars, our communities become digital concentration camps.
Digital concentration camps everywhere you go. So what is this CBDC, the central bank digital currency that's coming? And it's coming rapidly, they said. They're rapidly working towards it. Larry Fink, what we said at the beginning of the meeting.
The reality, as the financial system gets more controlling and more invasive, it's a little bit like bringing up a corral around us. And CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and vaccine passports or digital IDs are sort of the last shutting of the gate.
Okay, now this is, to me, this is very prophetic. And some of you might remember what happened to Jerusalem in about 70 AD when it was burnt with fire and all the Romans were surrounding the city. And this was prophesied by Jesus in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, where he said, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Now I've been connecting this a little bit to the book of Revelation and the shutting of the gate, because what happened in 70 AD was that Judea was burnt with fire. And what we see in the book of Revelation, chapter 17, again, let me bring you back to the book here. We got to read this carefully. It says, the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, these shall hate the whore and make her desolate. When you see the abomination that make it desolate, know therefore and understand. Don't miss it. They're going to make her naked. That's fornication. That's church and state. And shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So she's going to be burnt with fire. That's the judgment. Why is she judged like that? Leviticus 21, verse 9 says, the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, church and state, she profaneth her father, she shall be burnt with fire. So what happened in 70 AD? They said we have no king but Caesar. When they said this, they unchurched themselves. And so in the book of Matthew, chapter 24, her house was left to her desolate. And when you foresee the abomination to make it desolate, spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Now we see this in the book of Revelation, but where is this in the book of Daniel? Where is this in the book of Daniel? It says, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. I want to just give you a verse here where it talks about this fleeing to the mountains here. Okay, it's in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 6. It says, oh, you children of Benjamin, gather yourselves to flee out of Judea. And Jesus is telling us here, there's something in the book of Daniel that's spoken about here, that's spoken about by Jeremiah as well. Okay, we're going to go to the book of Daniel in a second, but I want you to catch it. It says, blow the trumpet in Tekoa, set a sign of fire in Bethakram, for evil appears out of the north and great destruction. Is Daniel speak about somebody in the north? The king of the north? Let's just go to the book of Daniel for a sec. Because this is our sign to flee out of Judea. Flee out of Judea. We better know when we see this evil appearing out of the north. In the book of Daniel, chapter 11, verse 40, it says, at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind. Who was the king of the north in Jeremiah's day? Who was the king of the north in Jeremiah's day? It was Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon. Right. And what was Babylon doing in Jeremiah's day? They were building back better. They were destroying a lot of stuff, but they were coming in through that mode of pushing people, yes, and then they forced worship. They built an image. They tried to force people to bow, right? But this is the king of the north here. He comes like a whirlwind. Notice that this is a connection here. You can use your references to go to this. He shall come like a whirlwind. You can go, I know some people say, oh, it's the Turks, it's the Sark. Just let the Bible interpret itself. It's Babylon, okay? And you can go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 4, verse 13. And it said, behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe to us, for we are spoiled. So he's got horses and chariots. Horses and chariots, and he comes like a whirlwind. Does that sound like Daniel chapter 11? Right there? Daniel 11, verse 40, right? I'm surprised it doesn't have that as a reference here. It should, eh? But Daniel 11, talking about this, we know this is set up the standard toward Zion, retire not. I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction. Verse 6. The lion is come up from his thicket. This is Babylon. And when you see this, what are you to do? Oh, you children of Benjamin, gather yourselves to flee out of Judea when evil appears out of the north. So Jesus told you to watch. Jesus said in Matthew 24, verse 15, he said, when you therefore see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them flee from Judea. Come out of her, my people. It's a symbol. Who is Judea? What is Judea? What is that talking about here for us as this last day comes? It's a symbol. It's a symbol of the fallen churches. It's a symbol of a church that went to the kings of the earth and said, we have no king but Caesar. It's talking about fallen Judea. Jerusalem, which is below, which is in bondage with her children. I'll show you what I mean. It's in the book of Galatians, chapter 4. Okay? So it says that these things are an allegory, for these are the two covenants. And then it says, this Hagar, which is Sinai in Arabia, answers to Jerusalem, which now is, and is in bondage with her children. That's Judea, which is below. And these are children of another mother. Children of another mother. There's two mothers in the book of Revelation. There is one who is the mother of the remnant seed, and one who is the mother of harlots. The mother of harlots' name is, what's the mother of harlots' name? Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Okay. What about the other mother in Revelation 12? Well, verse 26 talks about her standing on the moon. She's above. And it says, Jerusalem, which is above, is the mother of us all. So what should you be fleeing out of when you flee out of Judea? The Jerusalem, which is below, which is in bondage with her children, which is of the harlot, of the children of the bondwoman, of the children of this bond woman and bond servant. You want to be children of the mother of us all. You want to be the remnant of her seed. In Revelation 12, when we see this woman clothed with the sun, which is above, standing on the moon, we want to be her children. The dragon was wroth with the woman, went to make war with the remnant of her seed. We are her children by birth, spiritual birth. So when we see the sign, flee out of Judea, well, what's going to happen to Judea? Well, they want to make war. Make war. How do they make war? You need armies. Armies. This dragon has 10 horns. The 10 horns are what they're using to make war. Revelation 17, remember, the 10 horns are 10 kingdoms, which have received no kingdom yet. And these shall make war with the Lamb. And when Jesus said this in Luke 21. What does he say here? He says, when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, 10 horns, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains. Flee out of the midst of it. Come out of her, my people. Get out of the cities. There's 15-minute cities being built up. Do you understand who the king of the north is, what Babylon is, who's going to have control over the money, over the gold, over the silver, so that no man might buy or sell? Do you understand that it's coming? As we read in the book of Daniel here, it's coming with control. It's going to control. What does it say in verse 40? He's coming like a whirlwind with chariots, horsemen, and many ships. Whirlwind is a symbol of war. The dragon is about to make war, but he needs armies. He needs chariots. He needs horsemen. He needs ships. He needs the kings of the earth. He's gathering the kings of the earth for the battle of the great day of God Almighty. And there is an abomination that made desolate set up. 10 horns make her desolate. The kings of the earth, make her desolate. Church and state union makes her desolate. And when you see the abomination of desolation, when you see evil appearing out of the north, flee out of Judea. Come out of her, my people. Come out of her, my people. Because she's going to have power over the treasures of gold and silver. It has power over the ships. What does it say here? Many ships. And we see the ships of Babylon in the book of Revelation chapter 18, talking about how they have control. These merchants of the earth who were made rich. You can't buy her merchandise anymore. It says you're not going to be able to buy her merchandise anymore. Why are you not going to be able to buy it? Because it's going down. We're about to see a total economic collapse right now. As we watch, we're watching this take place. By 2028, they're telling us that BlackRock and Vanguard is going to own everything. Everything. No man might buy or sell her merchandise anymore. The merchandise of gold and silver? Who's in charge of the gold and silver? Daniel 11:43. Who's in charge of the gold and silver? Babylon. Babylon the Great, right? Are you guys catching this? All connected together? It's the king of the north. Daniel 11:40. When you see this, know and understand it. How many people are misunderstanding this today? How many people are waiting for Jerusalem below to have this king of the north, Turkey, to come into it? That's not what we're waiting for. It's total control of the state power by the papacy, Babylon, the king of the north. That's what we're waiting for. You keep waiting for Turkey, you might be waiting a long time. And papacy to come. You know, that's not going to happen. Anyways, the merchandise of gold and silver, who has control over the gold and silver? No man might buy or sell. And so it says, the merchants of these things were made rich by her. That's the papacy. The king of the north shall stand afar, fear of torment. And what does it say? In 1 hour, so great riches has come to nothing. And every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many trade by sea stood afar off and cried as they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what is the city like unto this great city? It's nothing to do with Turkey. This is Babylon. And they cast dust on their heads. They cried, they wept, they wailed. They said, alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that are in the ships in the sea. She had power over the horsemen, the chariots, the ships, by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. When you see the abomination that maketh desolate, know and understand. The wise shall understand. All that do wickedly shall not understand, though none of the wicked shall understand. Know therefore and understand this prophecy. Don't let people mislead you. Let the Bible interpret itself. Don't use private interpretation. Go here a little, there a little, line upon line, precept upon precept. We want to get a proper understanding of this. It's all coming to pass right now. They're telling us by 2028 that this stuff, that they're going to own everything. We will own nothing. And they're going to have control over everything. The papacy's behind it, Donald Trump, MAGA, everyone is working together. You can see all of this coming to pass before your eyes. No man is going to buy or sell. The mark of the beast is soon to be enforced. And the mark of the beast is Sunday keeping. And they're all moving towards that. So there is definitely some gates being set up around you. Come out of her, my people. Get out of the cities. Get out of her, my people. You're about to go through some things. Now, I got some hands up here. I'm going to first close off the meeting. And yes, raise your hands, comments, questions, all welcome today. We're going to have a meeting after meeting. But in order to come and hear the questions and comments, you have to join on the Zoom, which is underneath the YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you'll see a Zoom link there. You'll have to join the Zoom. And the moderators will allow you in. Just make sure you let them know what you're there for. And because if we don't know your name, we might not allow it just because there are some bots that try to get in. But anyways, before we get it started with the after meeting and any prayers or anything like that, or any questions or comments, we're going to pray and close off this live stream. Father in heaven, we want to thank you so much for being with us here today. We pray, Father, that this message
would go far and wide, that many people would come to the light of the truth to realize that there's little time left, and to remember the way in which you've led us in the past, so that when we see these things coming to pass in this last day, that we understand and know them, that we know and understand the abomination of desolation, that we know and discern what is taking place with the 10 horns and the United Nations and all this Bible prophecy, the mark of the beast, everything that's coming to pass. You said that we have a more sure word of prophecy whereby we do well, that we might be able to take heed. And your message is, come out of her, my people. Flee out of the cities. Flee out of Babylon. Flee out of Judea. Flee out of Los Angeles and New York City. And not only that, but flee out of the churches. Come out of the fallen denominations. Not just the fallen nations, come out of the fallen denominations. And Father, you called us to understand the prophecy that you've given to us in this last day, that Jesus said and spoke through Daniel. And we praise you for giving it to us, and we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, I'm just going to close off the live stream. And again, anybody who wants to join, you have to go to the underneath of the live stream, and you can enter the waiting room, and then somebody will let you in on that.